When I watched this two-parter for the first time, I really, and I mean really, disliked it. I was ready to call it one of the show's worst episodes, and by far the worst two-parter so far. But after thinking things through for a few hours, I realised that my dislike for this season finale was mainly due to the disappointment I felt that it didn't do any of the things I was hoping it would. They didn't bring back the 5 key-giving characters aside from brief cameos at the end. Spike played no part in finding the last key. There wasn't any link between the key items other than the fact that they were all keys. There wasn't really anything particularly interesting in the box. The cliffhangers in Castlemania, Power Ponies and Bats never came into play, and the Palace of the Two Sisters didn't really end up helping them that much. I was just distracted the whole time watching at everything it wasn't doing, and I think as a side effect, I didn't actually watch the episode. So I went back and I watched it again, this time knowing it wasn't going to do any of those things, and I liked it a lot more. Though it still had quite a few problems. Right from the first scene, there are a couple of things that are puzzling me. Why is Twilight suddenly so broken up about not doing more as a princess? I was loving her attitude throughout this season of accepting her new position, but not allowing it to affect her everyday life any more than was necessary. But now she's wanting more responsibility for what reason exactly? I don't know if maybe attending the Equestria Games and seeing Shining Armor at the centre of all the events made her want to do more, or maybe she's just had time to think things over and feels like she should be doing more. But that's just theory. Bottom line is, this change of tune in Twilight comes out of nowhere. Then there is dialogue like this.
Yes, but you get to smile and wave like a princess.
How exactly is that different than smiling and waving like not a princess?
Which could easily have been shortened to, yes, but you get to do it like a princess. How is that different? There is also a bit with Spike correcting himself without any prompting from the other 5, and it isn't until after he corrects himself that Applejack hits him. Wouldn't it have made more sense for Applejack to do that before Spike corrected himself? I know these are probably just nitpicks, but there was a really sloppy nature to the way this two-parter started. But I did like the moment in the next scene where Cadence puts her hoof around Twilight, showing that she has a more intimate relationship with her. Your Play Your Part was one of those dialogue put to a tune type songs that I really don't care for personally. It seemed like it was just a very long-winded way of saying, I want to do more princessy things. You will at some point. Also, no it fucking doesn't! Is that a figure of speech or something? Like, what? Thankfully things pick up considerably once Tirek shows up. The idea of a villain that can suck magic out of ponies automatically makes him a major threat in this world, since the ponies are pretty much dependent on magic to solve everything. You really do wonder how this guy could possibly be defeated. He actually reminds me a lot of the Dementors from Harry Potter. It's also quite interesting that this pony's cutie mark disappears when he sucks out his magic. There is clearly some kind of connection between the two. I thought at first that this might mean that unicorns had to get their cutie marks before they could perform magic, but we saw Sweetie Belle perform magic earlier this season, so that can't be it. Still, there has to be some kind of connection. By the way, Celestia sleeps in her crown? Like, why? That can't be comfortable. I really like Tirek's backstory, another awesome bit of world building, but there's one thing that doesn't make sense. If Celestia and Luna knew about Tirek's escape all the way back when Cerberus left his post, then why haven't they done anything to try and recapture him until now? The episode comes with a great portrayal of Discord, with him towing that fine line between friend and foe, and leaving us unable to tell if he can be trusted or not. Is he up to no good, or does he just not understand the right way to be a good friend? A quick question for him though, how did he know what the important entries in the journal were? And here goes Applejack again with dialogue longer than it needs to be.
Sometimes I think the reformed Discord is more obnoxious than the before he was reformed Discord.
How about this? Sometimes I think he's more obnoxious than before he was reformed. Enough with the nitpicking and the bad dialogue, let's look at this awesome scene between Tirek and Discord. Tirek understands Discord pretty well, and he knows that since the idea of friends is new to him, and something he doesn't fully understand, he can lead him to believe it may not be what he thinks it is. He also knows that Discord has something of a pride issue, and that he can further convince him to change sides by suggesting that he is showing signs of weakness by siding with the ponies. I think this is also the first time ever on this show we've seen two villains discussing with one another what they are going to do. Now I know a lot of people had a problem with the scene in the palace with the two sisters, and I don't really know why. Yeah, I know we all figured out a while ago what was going on with these key items, but the writers can't just assume everyone watching knows about them or even remembers the episodes in question. With that said, I do think this scene could have been a little shorter. I don't think we really needed flashbacks of the episode. But this to me definitely shows that this story arc with the key items needed to be a story arc. There is no way it would have worked if they had acquired all their keys in this two-parter. It would have come across as really rushed. You know, like certain other season finales. One thing about the key items that annoyed me though, was that they literally were just keys. No clever connection between them or trick to unlocking, no pun intended, what actually makes them keys. Just throw them at the box and there you go, it's a key. A bit too easy if you ask me. Looks like Tirek has confirmed what a lot of fans suspected for a while, that Pegasi and Earth ponies have their own form of magic that gives them the ability to fly and strength respectively. So I guess technically they do use magic to clean up winter in Ponyville after all, but I digress. Let's talk about Celestia's plan and the sense that it doesn't make. They know that he's teamed up with Discord, so how can they be sure he won't tell them about Twilight? And even if he doesn't, odds are he will find out about her eventually, especially if there is a stained glass window of her in the palace. Seriously, Celestia, you didn't think to blow out that window or something? And what was her plan beyond getting rid of their magic? Just to sit around and mope? You know, it actually really bugs me how much these three just stand around and do nothing but spew out exposition in this episode. But what I found more interesting about this plan is seeing Twilight struggle with her new levels of magic. I've thought for a while that one problem with her character is that her magical ability is a bit too perfect. Whenever a new spell comes along, you just know she'll be able to do it. So it was nice to see that her magic is fallible, and it was pretty funny watching her struggle with the sun and the moon. I also like that she's actually looking to do something to stop Tirek. Unlike some, I love Discord's character arc here. This to me is the ending to Keep Calm and Flutter On done right. He is offered a real opportunity by Tirek, who, from the perspective of someone that doesn't yet properly understand friendship, would be quite tempting. But then Discord finds out the hard way what the real value of having friends is. The fact that you can trust them because they actually care about you. And without that trust, betrayal is inevitable. Now the fight scene between Tirek and Twilight. I really didn't like it. To be honest, I'm not a huge fan of action in this show to begin with. This is a slice of life show, why would I want action? But if it's good action, like in Daring Don't, then I'm okay with it. But here the wound goes deeper because it's an action scene that comes right out of the same mold as Neo and Agent Smith, Yoda and Count Dooku, and pretty much any of the fight scenes in Man of Steel, in that it's clear both characters are evenly matched and pretty much invincible, so there is clearly nothing at stake here. I found myself just waiting for it to end. Sure, you can enjoy the visuals of stuff getting blown up. In fact, I thought the shot of Twilight's house getting destroyed was pretty impressive as something in a show for young girls. But when you really get down to it, this fight accomplished nothing. Tirek could have offered Twilight that trade right after blowing up her house and nothing would have changed. The trade scene on the other hoof I loved. Seeing Discord complete his character arc and in some way be the one to save the day, and seeing Twilight demand his release, confirming the value she has for him as a friend, it speaks volumes to me about these two characters. Not only did this fix Keep Calm and Flutter On for me, this was Three's a Crowd done right. By the way, can I just take a moment to say that Tirek's fully powered up design is one of the most badass things I've seen on this show? One minor gripe though, why did he bring Discord along if he didn't think Twilight considered him a friend? Now before this episode aired, I was kind of annoyed that they hadn't acquired the last key before the finale, because I felt sure that the last key would just be rushed through in the first few minutes without nearly as much significance as the other 5. But having now seen the episode, I actually think it works better like this. The fact that they are still looking for that last key while Tirek is out there stealing magic, it adds a lot more tension and urgency to the story. So what was in the box in the end? Another Deus Ex Machina device which seems to have become a staple of these two-parters. Some awful new character designs. Yeah, the less said about them the better. And a new house for Twilight. That last one is really the only thing worth talking about, so here goes. I'm not sure what to think about it at the moment. I mean, I like the idea that Twilight is basically the ruler of Ponyville now, and the fact that they have a place to sit and talk about stuff now, but this palace looks a bit out of place in the middle of a small town. I don't know, maybe it'll be scaled down next season. But what I do like is that Hasbro didn't spoil this weeks beforehand like they did with a certain other change. Let the Rainbow Remind You was okay, I guess, though it felt more like they were alluding to the upcoming film than singing about anything that had just happened. Nothing special about the visuals other than seeing the 5 key-giving characters again, and maybe a bit of shipping of Discord and Celestia. A pretty mundane way to end the season. So yeah, I seem to have spent this entire review switching between positive and negative, but I think overall there is more value to the good things in this episode. Discord's character arc and the conclusion to the arc with the keys were enough to make me glad I watched it. Most of the stuff I didn't care for, like the songs, the action, the rainbow powers and Twilight's palace, I find pretty easy to overlook because they take up such a small percentage of the episode. There are problems here, but I think overall I'd go as far to say that this is an improvement on the premiere.